Hey there, Lumio lovers. Welcome back to another Lumio live session. I'm Lois, and I've got Mish here with me. Say hi, Mish.
Hello.
Hey there. So today we're diving into meaningful ways to support student growth, and what is the best way to do that but by setting goals, right? So we're going to use Lumio to look at how we can help students reflect, stay motivated, because that's important, right? And plan ahead with interactive student-centered tools. What kind of tools are we using, Mish?
We're going to look at a few, but today is really about the student and what they need to thrive. So, before we get started in the activity, I have got a question for you. The instructions are on the screen if you'd like to join our Lumio lesson live time and participate in the activities. So, you'll just go to lumioclass.com and enter in my class code, which is 181461. One more time, all you need to do is just go to lumioclass.com and then enter in my class ID, which is 181461. So first things first, we're using a shout it out today. It's, as I always say, my favorite activity because it really gives all of my students the ability to share their voice, because raising your hand isn't for everyone. So it's a really great way to give them a different entry point. And so my question is, what's one reason it's worth giving your best at the end of the year? So it's the end of the school year. We're trying to keep our students motivated. So what's one reason that it's worth giving your best at the end of the year? I went ahead and opened that up for everyone. So you should have a submission box on your screen and be able to answer that question. While you're answering that question, I often think about, how we finish the school year really shapes how we feel both emotionally and mentally, and how we approach the next school year that way. And I think a really great way to think about that is when you, let's just say, play a sport. Maybe you are a baseball player, and how you played in your last baseball game, you're going to think about that your entire next game. And it's the same in school year. It's the same in the workforce. How we did the day before, the month before, the year before really shapes how we start that next year. And that's something that always really sticks with me. So let's think about that question again. What's one reason it's worth giving your best at the end of the year? Oh, I show up for my mama.
Oh,
I feel a sense of accomplishment. I want to grow my skills. So that's always super important to think about. I like that you wrote, I want to grow my skills, because at the end of the year, I've heard so many of my own students like, well, it's the end of the school year. We're almost done. Like, how much more can we do this year? And it's so important to think about that. The learning and the practicing and accomplishing doesn't stop just because the end of the year is approaching. Let's see. Someone said giving your best at the end is important because it helps you finish strong and sets you up for success next school year. And finishing strong.
I love that. We were thinking the same things. Who was that?
I just think it's such a great way to apply all the learning and the growth that we did this year in so many meaningful ways, and really help to kind of keep that culture going in your classroom and set those expectations as we welcome in that new school year. So, with that being said, this is one of my activities that I like to do with my students. Now, I made this kind of more so for older students or adults, but you can make this super custom and more approachable for your younger students as well. But thinking about everything that I've done this year, one thing that I'd like to try to improve, try or improve on next is, so what I'm going to do is go to my people icon over here and turn this into an individual handout. And the reason I want to do it this way is because our goals are so personal to us. And you'll also notice, outside of having my students brainstorm that one thing that they'd like to try or improve on next, I also have created a little timeline for them to customize as well. And so let's take this one step at a time. First, let's think about why goal setting matters, right? It's the end of the school year. It's the perfect time to reflect, to reset, and really kind of set our mood for the next school year and really trying to think forward. And it also, as always, I love saying this, right? Build, or goal setting builds ownership. And with that ownership, you can't have ownership without accountability. And I really think that's where that timeline comes in.
Yeah, and I also think with goal setting, we were talking about Atomic Habits by Adam Grant, right? Is like you fall to your systems, not just your goals. So, what kind of things are you going to put into place to make sure that you achieve those goals? Like, make it easy. If you want to spend more time running, I personally never want to spend more time running, but other people love it, right? Like, put your shoes by the door, make it easy. So not only when are you going to do this by, but what steps are you going to take to make it easier for yourself to accomplish your goals, right?
Exactly. And I think that's where the timeline comes in, right? We can't just set a goal and then expect it to happen. So, what are those small steps that we're going to take? And then let's also not overwhelm ourselves and create those timeline steps for us. So, by next week, I am hoping that my running shoes will be at the door every single day, right? So, that visual timeline takes like a vague idea or something that maybe is even way too big and turns it into this structured plan because it can't just happen overnight. And it's hard to keep ourselves accountable. What are the small things that we're going to do to make that one goal achievable? I also just really think that it gives our students a clear sense of when and how they're going to take action. And I think when we're talking about teaching our students to set those goals, it's not just about how do you create a goal, why are goals important, but it's really important that we're also there to help them understand how you can achieve that goal. So setting those timelines, breaking it up into those smaller steps. And then I think with teachers, it also really helps them to see where their students are at by helping them like plan and provide. And I know at the schools I worked with, you always met with the teacher that the students were going to have next year, if they're not moving on to their next grade level, but or to their next like school building, if you will. Hey, like I had Lois in my class this year, and this was something that they really want to work on. It'd be really cool if you checked in with them kind of beginning of the school year. I love that I can drop my hand out now. Lois, may I open yours up?
Of course.
I
Don't judge
love
me on my handwriting, though. Maybe that's a goal. Maybe I should work on the
Oh, I
handwriting.
love that you put that visual in there. So your goal is to learn to speak Arabic. That's a really cool goal. And I think that, right, you put your Duolingo in here. I love that you brought in that little image. It's an individual handout. So you can really kind of create this the way that you'd like to be, kind of customized to yourself. And now you can go in and insert those dates, right? You're not going to just wake up and be speaking Arabic tomorrow morning, right?
Marhaba, that's what I got so far. But I'm really inspired. And I love that Arabic is also a supported language in Lumio, right? I am struggling with Arabic, but I'm not quitting. And one of the things that I like about the tools I use is it makes me feel really bad when I don't practice. And I like feeling good. So I know positive reinforcement is what we're looking at, but whatever it takes to make you get your goals done.
I love that. And I opened up Taylor here. We've got a guest in here named Taylor, and it looks like yours might be about reading. So it looks like your little steps here that you created to reach your bigger goal. So create a list of 10 books to read based on topics that will help with personal or professional growth. All right. So I love that you're first creating the list of books that you want to read. And then your next step that you're going to take is plan to read for at least 30 minutes each day or set a number of pages per week. And then your last step here is aim to finish the first 3 books by the end of June to build momentum. I love that, Taylor. That is such a great breakdown of your larger goal.
I wonder what book Taylor's going to start with. Like, I was so curious. Tell us, Taylor, what books are you going to be reading? I need a new reading list.
We were just talking about this the other day, Lois and I. So just kind of tying it all together, last Lumio Live, we also talked about really supporting our neurodivergent students. And I think that really building it out this way, giving that timeline, when we think about those students, we have structure and we have choice, and those things together can lead to success. And that activity really kind of gives them both the best worlds there. And I also really think it reduces that cognitive load by really breaking it apart into those smaller pieces. And as always, we love the ability to have the visuals, the ability to customize to allow students to express themselves in different ways. And because I made it an individual handout, it really is a safe space to set those personal goals. And I think that even though I said, we're doing it together in class, it really can be something that they want to do in the class or personally. Up on the screen here, you'll notice that we've got Lumio Palooza coming up in July, our annual 2-day event that we are so excited. The official schedule did get posted last week. There are so many sessions that are going to be led by educators from all over the world, some in different languages, like there's one in Italian, there's one in Polish, so many different sessions for you to sign up and join. I know that link is going to be dropped for you guys in the chat. And with that, I'm passing it over to Lois.
Yeah, I am. So can I just tell you, Mish, Lumio Palooza is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I love seeing all the ambassadors from around the world presenting, and I really love the variety of lessons that are available. So whether you're teaching math, whether you're teaching littles or wishing you were teaching littles because it's May in high school, like it doesn't matter. You can find something that will bring you joy too. So again, it is in the chat, but if you're driving and you can't see, you can join us at Lumio Palooza by going to go.smarttech.com/Lumio Palooza July 2025. And me and Mish will see you there for sure. And also check out Mish's sessions that are available because, you know, Mish always brings the magic.
Thanks. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.